Hi, welcome back to a new video. This one will cover all of the Archgun changes that happened in the Vallis Undermind update that we've just got this week. So yeah, let's jump into it. First thing is that every Archgun now has 2 Archgun adapters that you can get in Fortuna from the new vendor that unlocked. So if you take the elevator down, you can find them there, can do some bounties, and you can unlock the Archgun adapters. You will need 2 for your primary arcanes and then also the one for your secondary arcanes. So you can make any combination of primary and secondary arcane. My personal favorites are primary crux, primary frostbite, primary blight. Sometimes primary merciless can be nice. Stacking 2 primary and secondary deadheads together can be really overpowered as well. So take note of that. But in general, I like primary crux a lot. And then for one of the builds today, I will be using primary merciless. Then the secondary arcane, this is where most of the customization of the Archgun builds lie, I think. Primary crux with secondary encumber, crazy. Secondary outburst doesn't really work because you cannot swap weapons when you are using an Archgun. Secondary enervate is very good because you don't have to build for crit chance that way. Secondary shiver can also be very good if there's multi-CO Archguns, but I'm not aware of any at the moment. If you know any, please leave them in the comments down below maybe. Secondary dexterity and deadhead you can double stack. Dexterity actually works for your melee weapons as well, so even more combo duration on your melees now. Secondary fortifier of course can be very nice for overguard stealing and survivability, or if you're using heat damage, even Cascadia Flare can be amazing. So yeah, a lot of options here, a lot of customization. I would feel like the secondary arcane slot is usually just use what you feel like. But yeah, let me quickly gloss over the builds so you can copy paste them, and then I will go in depth on all of the builds. The first one is this Harrow Build, so I will wait a little bit. The second one is this Garuda Build, that's all the way at the end here. And then the third and final build is my lovely Zephyr, of course, with this build, which is actually 0 forma, believe it or not. So yeah, let's go back, start with Harrow. So for this Harrow build, it's the same evade build as I've used in my Harrow video. If you haven't seen that video yet, you can check it out. I will link it in the description down below. The weirdest thing that's happening in this build is Arcane Ice Storm that's able to be triggered by Condemn. So that's some extra ability strength and ability duration. Apart from that, all of this is relatively self-explanatory. Arcane Crepuscular is nice for extra ability strength and final crit damage. And then Lasting Covenant is here because we will be going for those headshots with the Archgun because we want to keep our evade up so we are invisible. Then for the Garuda build, this is where it gets relatively interesting as well. Garuda has this weird augment called Bloodforge, which reloads Garuda's equipped weapon. And you've guessed it, if you are using an Archgun, this will also reload your Archgun instantly. So what you can do is shoot a bunch, cost your 3, you're good to go. In terms of survivability on this build, I've gone with a shield gating build. So yeah, all of the perpetrators that you would expect here, Rolling Guard, Vigilante Figure, Fast Deflection, and Arcane Aegis. Then I am using Arcane Hotshot to boost up the crit chance, and to keep Arcane Hotshot up, I'm using Firewalker from Nezha. But yeah, that's pretty much all for the Garuda build. So another platform build to use with whatever type of Archgun that you want. Then for Zephyr, this is less of a platform build. I'm doing some weird stuff here. I've subsumed on Dispensary from Protea on the second ability of Zephyr. I kept Tailwind because it allows me to keep hovering in the air while shooting my Archgun, which is quite nice. And I have invincibility from Turbulence basically. And then Tornado, this is where Zephyr gets silly. Tornado is able to, with one of the Archguns, re-trigger the alt fire of the Archgun. So you can just continuously spam the alt fire of the Archgun, which is very overpowered. Now, the reason I'm using health conversion and arcane battery, which is something that you may not expect on a Zephyr build, is for the following reason. If you are using this Archgun called the Morga, you can use secondary surge, and because Zephyr reprocs the alternate fire on alternate fire, you will basically be able to guarantee that your alternate fire has 8 times damage multiplier, which is final, so this makes your damage skyrocket. Primary Merciless is here on this build because I don't really have any accuracy, so Crix doesn't really work. I am doing rainbow elements, so I can't really get toxin or cold. Dexterity is whatever. Deadhead doesn't really work. As I said, I'm not going for accuracy, so Merciless made the most sense here. So yeah, that's the Morga build. Then I also have two builds that I can show for the Mausolon. I have this first one, which I use on Harrow. So here you can see Crux and Deadhead. And then on Garuda, I'm using more or less the same build, but I have a parallax scope here to increase the critical chance a little bit more. So I took off Containment Breach and put on parallax scope. Then for the companion, it could be interesting to mention, it's just this Panzer Volpavila, the good old trusty Panzer. So yeah, feel free to copy this, and then this doesn't really matter. The melee weapon of the companion is whatever. All of these weapons also don't really matter. Use whatever you want. You will be using the Archgun mainly anyway. So yeah, let me give you a quick showcase of all of these different frames. First, Harrow. Get back into the Evade build, get the right Mausolon build. Then with Harrow, we want to unpause AI, of course, so we can charge up our fourth ability. There we go, we've got some damage on us. Quickly reset this, go into Evade. So now I will cast my my one a couple of times, and you can see that I am building up Arcane Ice Storm. I can use the 2 for some extra fire rate. I deploy my Archgun and I go ham. So red crit galore, insane fire rate, millions of damage, multi-millions of DPS, and then the best part, if you use the secondary fire, you can get some nutty damage and nuke entire groups of enemies like that. So yeah, Harrow, very nice. Very powerful. Indeed. Let's go to Garuda. For Garuda, as I said, I'm using the augment mod on her, the Bloodforge augment, and I will showcase that real quick. It's also good to note that if you are using Archguns, that when you deploy it, based on the total amount of maximum ammo you have, so this Mausolon now has 1200, if you shoot a bunch of times and you put your Archgun away, it will have a cooldown. This is capped at 5 minutes, and it can be so it increases the amount of ammo that you have used. So if you run completely out of ammo, it will always be 5 minutes. You can then reduce this cooldown by picking up heavy ammo drops that drop from things like heavy units like bombards. What's also important to note is that the reason why I was also using dispensary on Zephyr is that universal ammo drops actually restore ammo on your Archgun, so I will show that in a little bit. But yeah, if you shoot the Mausolon, I can just cast the third ability and I restore all of the ammo, as you can see. So no need to go through this reload animation. I can just shoot, cast the 3, keep shooting. Cast the 3, keep shooting. It's pretty comfortable. And then what we also have going on Garuda is that we can of course use the fourth ability to make sure that every Archgun shot that we fire on these enemies also applies a slash damage proc, which is very powerful indeed. So let's see if we can get a big slash proc on one of them. Well, they instantly die, so this doesn't work. But you get the idea. Okay, up next, Zephyr as the final one. I will show you the re-triggering of the Morga altfire, and I can show you that you can pick up universal ammo to restore your Archgun ammo. So let me put a dispensary down, wait until it poops out a little universal ammo drop. There's one. So I will shoot a little bit, reload, then you can see that one will fly towards me to restore my ammo. Very nice indeed. Now I will get some enemies out. We fly up in the air, we cast tornadoes, cast all of our jazz, shoot these enemies. This will also help us charge our alternate fire really quickly, because shooting in the tornadoes charges our alternate fire, even if it's killed with the tornado. If you want more info on how this works and why it works, you can check out my Zephyr Tornado video, which I will also link in the description, so it gives you some more context on why and how this exactly works. But yeah, so now we have the alt fire. We cast a bunch of our stuff, so we get the big damage multiplier from secondary surge, and then we make sure that we have some distance, otherwise this doesn't work. And there is the alternate fire again. So yeah, tornadoes, alternate fire's back, millions of damage, GG. So yeah, that's pretty much it for everything I wanted to share. 2 shoutouts for other frames that you could use are Lavos because of his transmutation probe that also helps you sustain ammo on your Archgun, and Protea because she has dispensary, of course. So with that being said, I have some small snippets of gameplay that I will leave you with, and I hope you enjoy those as well. Make sure to leave a comment, let me know what you think about these Archgun changes. I hope you enjoy the builds and try them out for yourselves. And as always, I hope to see you in the next video as well. Bye. Finally, a thank you to all members. We have Nike 418, Tommel, Mega Ninja, Dwong Nguyen Tai, Stit6 Ben 1Y, Jamari Coleman, Pinter Aaron, Furkan Chibechi, Vixen Sage, Fury Render, Ismail Pereira, Benjamin Cooper, Nocent Linux Gaming, Jalen Saunders, Ouija, Patrick Onumoa Jr., Davey, Siester MR, Berkia Fus Argun, Deadly Dion, Unknown User 0, Shaky Loguer, and Sane Theme. Thank you.